Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 256, and this show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week. I had another light week this week. I think next week is going to be super heavy though, so it'll be done with the light weeks for a while, and then yeah, this week I had 15 comics though. But before I start talking about that, I do want to give you an update that I do have my Kickstarter for Like Father, Like Daughter. We are inching closer to our last stretch goal, which is issue 5 of Like Father, Like Daughter. Yes, you are getting the next issue. And what this story is about, it's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. So you gotta find out what happens next and pick up the series. So I want to promote that. Again, in the description below, there'll be a link for the Kickstarter. We have about 9 days left as I speak on this video. So, moving on to the list though, number 15 for me this week is Dead Hand, issue 6. I guess this is a mini-series. I thought this was an ongoing series. I was very shocked to see the end in the end of this issue. So, I do feel like they rushed a lot of pieces though. A lot of players were on the board where I didn't get as much character moments as I would have wanted for a last issue. And the artwork's still good, but there's aspects of it that felt a little rushed. Like here, I didn't think there was as much detail in that character's face, so everything felt a little rushed about this book, and it just kind of lost me. I think it lost me a couple issues ago where they're trying to over-explain everything. It just hasn't had the magic that it did in the first issue, which I really enjoyed. So for this one, I gave it 2 stars, and that is number 15. Moving on to number 14, which is the Silver Surfer Annual, issue 1. Not a bad issue, but if you're not a hardcore Silver Surfer fan, it's not really a necessary issue to pick up. I think it's mostly, the reason why this is low is because it's an annual for no reason, and it's $4.99 for the story you're getting. It's a very by-the-number Silver Surfer story, where it's him, you know, saying, oh, you know, I was with Galactus once, and, you know, I used to be his helper, and I don't want to do that anymore. And it's like, how many times have we seen that story with Silver Surfer? And it's so weird, because we had such a unique story with Dan Slott's run, so to go to this and not really reference that run, it was a little jarring to me. And the artwork, pencil-wise, I thought was very soft. I didn't love it as much. I like it when it's a bit more glossy for Silver Surfer, or again, something really unique like Allred's art. Coloring I liked though. I liked it. It kind of felt Watchmen-y, so I enjoyed the coloring. But yeah, overall, unless you're a super Silver Surfer fan, you could probably skip this one. So I gave that one 2.5 stars. And I like Silver Surfer. Out of all the cosmic characters, he's probably the one I like the most. But I'm not a really huge cosmic Marvel fan. Alright, we're moving on to number 13, which is Cover, issue 1. Another Brian Michael Bendis book that just didn't do it for me. I have been enjoying his Superman, and I've loved his Ultimate Spider-Man in the past, but just haven't been liking his creator-owned stuff for a while. You know, I've been trying to get into it. Like, I tried to get into Power a long time ago. I read the Murder State one, couldn't get into that. And then, you know, obviously with week after week, Bendis coming up with these new indie books, I've tried every single one of them and honestly couldn't get into it. I thought Pearl was probably the best, but still didn't give me enough for issue 2. Scarlet, love the art. I thought the story was kind of generic and very much like other Bendis stories. And this one, I like the premise, but I felt like it was good as a one-shot than an ongoing. And I feel like with a lot of these, there wasn't a hook for a first issue. And I think the real hook for Bendis books is that he has an audience, so he doesn't really need to put a hook in his first issue. But I still think you should go by the numbers and give us a hook no matter who the writer is. So, Cover, for me, I guess is honestly the lowest, even though it was like an interesting concept of this CIA agent finding this guy at a Comic-Con, and I thought that was interesting, and if you've been on the other side of selling comics, it was a cool commentary on that. But after that, trying to get him into, I guess, working with the CIA, that's where it kind of lost me. I'm like, I don't know about this concept. And the art, I really like the pencils, because I do like Mac's artwork usually, but I didn't like the coloring. I thought it was way too bright. There was no contrast. These are actually some good pages, but once you get to the pure blue, it just was too blue. I wanted something else going on in the panels to give some contrast. It just was too bright, these pages. So I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. Probably won't pick up the next issue. Wish I could get into a Brian Michael Bendis independent story, but it looks like I'll just be sticking with Superman for now. Alright, moving on to number 12, which is Deathstroke, issue 35. Just really happy this story arc's over. I did not care for the Deathstroke versus Batman, who's Damian's dad story. I liked the ending that was connected to his ex-wife. That was cool, but honestly just didn't care for their team up at all, and I just thought it was way too long, and I was just kind of happy it was over. But the artwork is really good. There's some good action in this one, so I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. I actually moved this series digitally. I was buying it printed for 34 issues, but for now, I'm going to probably stay printed. I haven't been as impressed since the Titan story that they ended up doing, where I think was the biggest height of the series. Maybe it's time for a new creative team for the book. Alright, moving on to number 11, which is X-Men Gold, issue 35. Another 2.5 star book, so some lackluster books for me this week. But with this one, if you're a huge Storm fan, get it. If you're not, I don't really think it really brought anything else to the X-Men. And honestly, it wasn't a very entertaining Storm issue either. I just didn't really care for the story as much. I liked it when it actually connected the Kitty and the rest of the team, but it was just so little that I couldn't fully be invested, especially as a penultimate issue to this whole entire series. I thought it was filler. So we'll see where this last issue goes, but I haven't loved the direction of this series since the wedding, and I like the wedding issues, so I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars. Artwork was good, especially the beginning, but then they changed the artist in the end, and I didn't like the artwork as much in the end, and you could tell the difference. It was a bit darker, the art style, and I guess the coloring was kind of darker too for that, so I didn't like that we needed 2 artists for this issue as well. So giving that one 2.5 stars, like I said. Moving on to number 10. Now we're moving on to like the books I like better. So number 10 is Man and The Wasp issue 5. I like this issue just for Nadia and Scott. I really like their relationship by the end of this miniseries, and I want to see more from them. I like this father-daughter relationship that's going on with them, and you know, that works for Scott. Obviously, that's his character, is that he's the dad, so I like that. The artwork is good with the action. I don't love the facial expressions, especially with Scott's face. I don't know, it just kind of looks weird for me. But I do like the action in the whole microverse stuff. I don't think this needed to be 5 issues though, which is why it's lower. The actual story is just like, alright, where are you going with it? We get it, the microverse, cool. But I like the epilogue. I thought it was a cute series, but just way too long. And if you're not a Scott or Nadia fan, you probably felt less invested in this. I'm a huge Scott fan, so that's why I continued the whole thing. But it actually did give me enough, though, to want to at least try Unstoppable Wasp, because I only read like 1 issue of that last series, and I didn't really continue from there, so I want to maybe try it again with its relaunch. So, giving this one 3 stars. Moving on to number 9, which is the Immortal Hulk, issue 5. Solid series. I like it. I just wish there was more of a plot going on. I guess with the journalist, I like the little remark she made that she wants to be a Hulk too, so we'll see where that ends up going. But most of it is something I love and hate about this series, is that it's just a monster versus monster fight, and that's all it really is, which I love because that's, you know, classic Hulk, and I like that it feels like a monster movie every month. But at the same time, it's like, alright, I want a little bit more story here. So I'm hoping the plot progresses a little bit more. Maybe we get to see some more familiar faces from the Hulk universe / family. So overall, I gave this 3.5 stars. Still very intrigued. And out of the big Marvel characters that had relaunches like Thor and Iron Man, I actually been enjoying the Hulk the most. So giving that 3.5 stars. And the artwork is really good for the book, and I like the tone that it gives. Again, this kind of horror type, I don't know, I feel like Hitchhiker type story, like a one-shot Twilight Zone type feel to it. Alright, moving on to number 8, which is Breathless, issue 4. I thought it was a solid ending to the book. I've still been trying to explore the concept. I wish they utilized the inhaler a bit more to the story because it's called Breathless. But what really sold me on this book and why I liked it was Grace and Scout's relationship, and I feel like that was mostly focused in this issue. And I like the way it ended, that the monsters are all revealed to everybody, so it was a cool ending. I especially really like the artwork for this book. Just the facial expressions, the monster fighting has been really good. I do think it's a bit wordy at times, so maybe save this one for first. I read this later in my pile, and I definitely felt it a little bogged down, but overall, and you can even see that with the cover, which is an interesting cover of how many words, but it's also her character that she spits stuff out, so I thought that was an interesting cover, so giving that 3.5 stars. Now it's number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Astonishing X-Men. I want to say Ant-Man because I love that series when that came out, and there was an Astonishing Ant-Man, but Astonishing X-Men, which was their first Astonishing, issue 15. I really like this series. I like the writing a lot. I don't like the art, which is why it's not in my top 5. I think if it wasn't Greg Land's art and these really bland backgrounds, I would have put this in my top 5. And the Reapers, I didn't really like their scenes as much, but it connected by the end because Havoc might join the Reapers, which is interesting. But I love how much these characters are losers. It's awesome, and there's so much fun in this book where Havoc has to use public transportation and the rest of the X-Men are like, what? And his running joke that Kitty Pryde owns the name X-Men and does not want Havoc using it. So it's a really fun issue, and I like the team dynamic that they're building here. So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. Again, probably would have been a 4-star book if it wasn't for the weaker artwork here, and even not even just the art style. There's times where I just feel that the faces could have more detail. I just not a fan of the art. And like I said, I don't like the white backgrounds. It doesn't work for me. Alright, moving on to number 6, which is Batman, issue 54. Also another book which would have been higher if it wasn't for the art. This, Wagner is a prolific artist, and I didn't really like his art here. It felt a little bit cartoonish, and it's weird to say that I think this is the weakest artwork we've seen from the series, because we just had such strong artists on this book. So yeah, this is the artwork. Again, it felt a bit more cartoonier than we expect for this Batman series, especially King's Batman series. But I like the overall story of Dick Grayson dealing with trauma and how he became kind of this lightness for the Bat family and for Bruce especially, and how he dealt with this trauma because of Bruce and how he's changed, and time heals in a way. And Dick Grayson kind of doing the same thing for Bruce now that he broke up with Catwoman. So it's a nice one-shot. If you enjoy Dick Grayson and Bruce's relationship, I think you definitely should pick it up. I love their relationship, so I enjoyed this one. But again, artwork wasn't as strong as I wanted it to be. So Batman issue 54 gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is a new Action Lab comic. It's Guncats issue 1, and I thought this was a really solid first issue. I really liked it. I loved the art. It was super clean, and it was a cool concept. We get to see these alien characters who definitely seem to be more ruling in this environment, and then humans are the ones that are looked down upon. And you have this alien friend and this human friend who are bounty hunters, and they're assassins, so they kill people for money. So I thought that was a lot of fun, and it's interesting to put that in the political, statements it's trying to make as well. These two people could be friends. So I liked their personality a lot and the way they jumped on each other. I actually wanted to know even more about them. I want to know about their past and, how they ended up becoming bounty hunters, which I think is a positive and a negative about the book. It's like, oh, why wasn't it here? But at the same time, how do you fit that in first issue? So it's a positive because I want to know more about the characters. So I really liked it. Definitely will pick up the next issue, and I gave that 4 stars. That is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Injustice 2, issue 33. We are getting towards the end of this book, sadly, but I thought it was a really solid issue. I'm a huge Cassie and Superboy fan, so seeing them just trying to survive in space and sharing air and trying to get air was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad they survived, because this is the only chance we get to see these two characters together, or in general, so I really like that, and I think Taylor just hits it on the mark with their relationship, especially I guess their more mature relationship. Because they kind of had a different relationship in Young Justice. They didn't like each other as much. But once they were in a romantic relationship, I think Taylor really gets it here. So another thing that really got me and really put this in my top 5 was Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, which is weird because I'm not a huge fan of those characters. But the way the emotion is written here, that Booster Gold ends up being the hero by saving Jaime. And he dies, it looks like. Without Aaron, it's him and Ted Ford who die in space together. I just thought it was a beautiful moment. So I really enjoyed that. We'll see if they're officially dead. We'll have to see if that was was Booster Gold imagining Blue Beetle. I don't know. We'll have to see in future issues. But I really enjoyed it, and there's some good Green Lantern action. Artwork is just gorgeous here. I think it's some of the best artwork we're getting in mainstream comics. It's just so clean, and the action is so good. So overall, I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Vampironica, issue 3. I thought this was a lot better than the second issue, even though we've had to wait a long time for this issue. But something I love about Vampironica is how Buffy-like it is, and it really shows with this issue. Even the hairstyle is Buffy. You can definitely tell it's trying to be Sarah Michelle Gellar. So I like that. And, Veronica is just kind of, owning her vampire side now with Dilton helping her, saying, all right, you gotta do this and that and that. And then Archie finds out she's a vampire, and Veronica has to make the decision. Does she save her parents or follow her parents by killing all of Riverdale and choosing some of them to be vampires? And the parents like, you can kill Betty. It's okay. But it looks like Veronica saves Betty by the end and says, come on in, join our club. And it looks like we finally get the final team of vampire hunters led by a vampire herself, Vampironica. So I had a lot of fun. You could definitely tell Dilton's like Xander. Like I said, Veronica is totally Buffy. I guess we haven't seen enough Betty in this version. I'm guessing she'll kind of be Willow-esque. And Archie, probably what's-his-face from Season 4. Buffy's boyfriend from Season 4. That's probably going to be Archie in this series. So, I really liked it, though. I really enjoyed the way they played with the vampire genre here. And the artwork is so good. I love the coloring, and just the facial expressions, just like the attitude Veronica gives with this slight smirk is really good with this book. And just like you get to see the fangs really easily with the book, really good stuff. I guess it's worth the delay, but hopefully it's not delayed as much, because I want to see where this series goes. So, and I love this next cover, which is why I say, looks like Archie, Betty, and Dilton will be part of this vampire hunting team, but hopefully they don't hunt Veronica. Hopefully they're on a good team with her. I don't want that drama. We'll have to see. So I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I had a lot of fun with it. It was as good as that first issue. Moving on to number 2, which is Paper Girls, issue 24. Yeah, this made it number 2, but it was a really hard choice. I really enjoyed this issue. But this definitely was more about explaining the plot, which I liked. I think people are going to enjoy the mystery being unraveled a little bit more. Especially with Worry and her, her role in this arc. And we get to see her have a bit of dementia, which I thought was interesting. So she's trying to tell Aaron information, because Aaron supposedly showed up in the past, and what we do find out is that Aaron did, and she figures out a way to get the robot to give her information, and she actually has a map to go home, which I predict that next arc is probably going to be them in 88. I have a feeling it's going, maybe it'll be before the whole time travel mess and them getting used to their lives again, but having to be torn back into the time travel mess with their own decision. I have a feeling that's what's going to be the next arc. It feels like that's where it's leading. And even, the grandfather, which is Worry's baby, said, oh yeah, we're going to 1988. We're going to 1988. So it looks like that's the next place they're going. So I like that stuff for the actual plot. And, you know, as always, I love KJ and Mac. I really enjoy their story here. So Mac is trying to cure her leukemia. KJ's in a badass moment saying, all right, I'm going to kill you, Doc, if you don't save my friend. And he's like, all right, I'll save you. And we find out that Mac is going to die not of leukemia, but another cancer, which is actually for time travelers. So because she's been time traveling, this is why she has the cancer. And KJ's about to die because this scientist finds out they're time travelers and it's illegal, and he's like, no, we're gonna kill you all. But KJ's able to save herself before she's sedated, and she gets sedated, so now she's like half asleep trying to escape with Mac. And Mac saves her, and that's kind of the end of their story here, or in this issue, so we'll see where that ends up. But I love that. I love how Mac kind of saves KJ, KJ saves Mac, and the big reveal of what Mac's cancer is. And I love what Mac ends up saying in the end, where she kind of accepts it, because she saw that her friend was going to die just to try to help her. She said, you know what, we die when we die. I have time. Let's just live our lives. So I really enjoyed that aspect. So I like this one. Of course, I think there's just a lot of great information. Such great artwork, as always, by Cliff Chang, with just some of the creative side of things, but also just the facial expressions. A lot of this, honestly, was just talking, but the way he embraces the world with these talking head moments is so great. Like, even the action sequences of using the hover boots and in this weird, you know, knife, because it's like this electric knife, which is cool. So I like that as well. Really enjoyed the issue. So overall, going to give this one 4.5 stars. Really excited to see how this one ends in October, this story arc. Moving on to number 1, which is Snotgirl issue 11. Finally, this book is out again. It had a bit of a hiatus. And this series tends to have a hiatus, but I loved it. I thought it was a really good issue where we get to see Lottie go on her first date, as she would say, with Cool Girl. And it's not a good first date. And is it a date at all? We don't know. At least to Cool Girl's mind. We don't know if she feels like it's a date. To Lottie, it definitely is. So in this issue, because she kind of accepts that she has feelings for girls and that she's gay, and she was not accepting this before, but because her rival and Sunny, you know, her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, says that she's gay, Lottie in her head's like, what? She said it first? No. Now I want to be gay. Or not want to be gay. I want to, you know, say that I accept to be gay. So I thought that was an interesting scene, because she's been, like, really struggling with it, but because I guess in her mind, it's like this competition between this girl. She finally can admit it in her head because of it. And I really like the opening scene of this issue as well, where we get to see Lottie's in bed with Cool Girl. So again, you're seeing, all right, she definitely likes this girl, and her feelings for her, you know, she's trying to figure them out herself. And this paparazzi is around her bed, and you know, it's just a really interesting way to show her anxiety, and I love, in general, how anxiety is shown. And, you know, obviously snot's running down her face because she's Snotgirl, and that's what she's most afraid of, is people to find out she has allergies. So it's an interesting way to show, you know, how we put our lives on social media and the anxiety that comes with it. I thought it was a really cool scene. So that was cool. So going into the date, you know, it was not a great date, because Cool Girl's like trying to get Lottie drunk. She's mixing her drink, giving this green thing, and Lottie's like, okay, I'll drink it. And then her ex-boyfriend shows up and learns, and this was kind of part of the mystery of the issue, is that his bros said, hey, you know, one of your girlfriends is dead, one of them's gay. So, you know, we both know that his ex-girlfriend is gay, and Lottie's gay too, so who's dead in this mix of it? And that's kind of what's fun about this series, that there's this huge mystery of, is any of this true? There's people dying and then coming back. It's just like, who's actually dead in this book? Is it Lottie herself? That's my new theory. Lottie might be dead. But we'll have to see. I thought that was a really interesting piece. So anyways, Lottie says, alright, let's go away, Cool Girl. I'm not drinking this drink anymore. And Cool Girl's like, finally, you stood up for yourself. But, so they go to the apartment and, you know, they're ready to have a good time. And, of course, who walks in, it's revealed in the solicits, but not in this issue, but is Lottie's sister. So we don't know their relationship at all, but I'm sure it's toxic, because Lottie has no good friends in her life, which is the point of this book. I really enjoyed it. I like this, you know, obviously complicated relationship between Cool Girl and Lottie, and why it's so complicated is because you just don't know what Cool Girl's thinking. You know everything that Lottie's thinking, because you're in her head, and she's an unreliable narrator for sure, so you know what she's thinking, but you don't know what Cool Girl's thinking. What type of character is she? But since we're in the point of view of Lottie, she's a mystery, and I like that a lot. And then again, the bigger overall mystery you're getting some clues for, and it's a really cool issue to dig deeper into Lottie's psyche. So I really enjoyed it. I gave this 4.5 stars. This is my pick of the week, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also in the description below, there are links to my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.